Okay, this will be the fifth take on this. And I pushed the thing away just so I don't screw up and push anything by mistake. Okay. I did some research and I noticed the government had a pretty much a pattern of a lot of the stuff that they were getting themselves involved with. This is going all the way back towards when marriage got adapted in with the common folk. Because before it got involved with the common folk, it was mostly with the with the wealthy folk, and then the common folk adapted it, and it became the norm. Now, with the way that invaded into that was that they introduced the diamond into the marriage, and before that, diamonds weren't like a necessity for the common folk to get married with. I don't know about the rich, but when it comes to the common folk, just the everyday citizen, it wasn't necessary. It was just two people who just wanted to just share their life together, and they did the necessary steps, and that was it. Um, there's even more to it than that too. They started getting involved in a lot of the community-based projects that were evolved around families. A lot of situations with housing is another prime example. Um, but before I continue with this, I want everybody to understand. Look, we've allowed these lifestyles and this whole corruption of what they have done corrupted us to the point to where money has become a necessity and collateral has become a necessity. But here's the thing: it back then we need to wind the clock back here because first off, money wasn't a necessity. Materialistic things was not a necessity because back then it wasn't we needed to go just buy a house. No, back then we made a house. Ever since the dawn of age, when man was when men were cavemen, we had our cave women with us walking around and whatnot, right? Men would structure caves. That was the first step to making a home. We rewind the clock a little bit forward. The men started to make houses. They started to utilize wood until eventually they started to understand carpentry and both botany and so much more. They started to understand that like the food could be more revolutionized to where they can make more out of what they had with the raw materials, and we started to evolve, and eventually it was from cave to straw house to brick house to a community to a motel and so on and so forth. But every time we would evolve, every time something new came up, the government was constantly trying to invade into there. So we're already done with the marriage thing. You already know how they got themselves involved in that. Now there's other factors that else that they got themselves involved in that. There's the child support. There's the alimony. There's the court fees, and then there's the lawyer fees. Problem now that's a lot of money, and a lot of people don't may not be aware of how that racks up. Problem is this: it wasn't there's just one single problem, and then there's several problems, and then oh well, it's just not working. Let's just break up. No, that wasn't the case on what families were made for. That wasn't. When I mean by families, I'm talking about families who had kids, families who actually settled down. No, if there was a problem, both, not just the man, but the woman too, got off they behind and they used that as an opportunity to work together to solve that problem. They communicated. Whatever what was wrong on other side, they worked their way around it so that they can move forward. The government's involvement with the families has caused us to lose that connection in some cases. there are some who still are very fortunate to still have this. There are still some who are very lucky to still have this, you know? But now in today's day and age, too many women just they just weren't taught it. They just weren't. Too many of us guys, we got lucky to get by, man. We got lucky to get by as we did. But the government's hand is involved in a lot of stuff. Now, this is a very controversial topic I'm going to bring up, but I'm not going too far into it. But the government had its hands in both, even in feminism. I wasn't sure about it, but I had my suspicions. And when I did the research, sure enough, I seen the president's name getting mentioned. And as soon as I saw that, yeah, they had a hand in that too. Now, the trend of what the government that I'm about to get with and, explain to you all is this. The government has been to the point to where they're not doing anything specifically for the people unless it benefits itself as well, from what I've been noticing. When it came to that, they see to get something back from it, but like it seems like it's just given very little back to the people, and it's trying to keep more, and it's like it's doing this in very incoherent certain situations. And what the biggest one of them is really being in the divorce courts. They want a lot of money for that. And it's at very unreasonable, unlivable values. And a lot of people ended up incarcerated because of this. And it's not that, they didn't want to provide for their families. It's just that, well, like they couldn't. It was too much money being demanded. And what I mean by this, I'm talking about there are people who are demanding a lot of money just for one single kid. And half that money, I've seen this. I'm sorry, but I've seen this. And to the women who actually do provide for their children, you got to understand the reason why I'm bringing this up is that these women who are just using that money for themselves are giving you a bad name. So if you've been doing what you get supposed to do, this comment doesn't apply to you, okay? So just because a guy would say something about a woman, that doesn't mean all women. Just the ones who are not doing what they're supposed to do. But yeah, man, like that's basically the situation here. It's like it seems like the government has just been constantly getting involved with the families and stuff like that. And it's gotten so bad you can't even discipline your own damn kids. And the problem is that if you can't discipline your kids, man, then the kids are gonna grow up in a dysfunctional like manner. They're gonna think that just because they do something bad, it's okay to do something bad. No. That's very, very not good parenting, because when they start to act like that, it's going to develop into a stasis to where it's going to get worse over time. What else did they have a hand in? The Section 8 thing. This is another infiltration attempt that they had towards the families. It's benefiting the woman, yes. It's benefiting even just anybody who's using it, yes. But at the same time, it's to a point to where they're paying a lot of this money to the women for a reason, and they're doing it to get them addicted to it. They're doing it to entice them to get addicted to that, so that they would constantly go with that narrative. They won't stay with the man that they with, and they won't try to rekindle and keep that flame that attracted them to one another, to keep it burning bright as ever. We've allowed the government to meddle in our lives far too long, man. And it's gotten so bad that it's like it kind of feels like we got to ask permission just to get something passed or get something done that really has a general concern. 5G should have never been installed in any neighborhoods. When the people said no, that should have been the end of the story. There is no room for debate. If people don't want it, then it's no reason for you to put it there, because first off, they have to live around that shit. Everybody has to live around that. If they don't want it there, then it's no excuse that they would ever have to put it there unless they're being paid off. Yeah, man, like they've had their hands in a lot of stuff. So when you see a dysfunctional adult act, which is a perp, it don't matter what their age is, if they're acting like that, they're acting like that. But here's the deal. These are people who just didn't get that the best of both from both their parents, from both the mother and the father. So because of that, they developed a an attention disorder. Basically, they need attention, and they got to the point to where, like, they were just constantly either trying to do it the nice way, but people would just shove them off, saying, "No, go away, leave me the hell alone," stuff like this. And this was just a growing trend, and people would constantly do this because, well, they didn't want to be bothered; they were too busy. Can they really get mad at people about this? Well, not really. If a person's busy, they're busy. And like, not everybody's gonna be a friend out there, man. Not everybody's gonna be real. Not everybody's gonna be honest. And that's just that. I mean, that's just it. It's tough, I know, but everybody has to deal with that. The main issue about this though is that they get so, their mentality and their psyche gets so twisted that they want to blame everybody and everything for their own suffering. And when they see that person getting attention, that person getting recognition, they really so much as envy that, because it seems like they have a problem with not even trying to find that inner value within themselves, or they've lost it due to all the brainwashing and manipulation through the media and entertainment industry that they have been projecting on so many people for years now. Now, as far as relationships are concerned, I may be a MGTOW, but I still love my women. Okay, I still do, but I do have my standards on certain things. Number one, I'm not looking for a fake woman, and I'm not saying that all women are fake. I'm just saying when I go out and look for a woman, the woman I'm looking for is a woman who is not afraid to speak her mind, the woman who is down to earth, the woman who actually wants to be herself and loves herself, and is not gonna twist it, for nobody else's sake, and especially not for attention. Someone who's not addicted to attention. Instead, someone who's very calm, collected, got a nice brand on the shoulders, but of course, you gotta have a pretty face, slim waist, nothing too fancy, nothing too out of proportion, nothing too demanding. Because whatever woman I would ever end up giving my heart to, I'm gonna love her regardless. But at the same time, with the target situation going, I've actually been trying to stay out of relationships because of how serious this is. 2 to 3 women actually did show some interest, and that was a while back before I even realized just how bad this targeting was. And the woman who I used to actually work with, I don't know what happened to her, but they ended up. I believe that was actually the tip off there, because one of the perps ended up shouting out at her, saying, "You like him?" And she just started freaking out a little bit, just saying no, looking back and forth and stuff. So I kind of knew, I kind of sort of already knew, but she just wasn't my type. Nothing really wrong with her, but it's just not. It just didn't fit my interest. I mean, but again, I'm nothing special neither. Like, there's plenty of fish in the sea, there's plenty. Um, but yeah, like, as soon as I started to see the corruption out there, and once again, ladies, these females out there who are intentionally doing a lot of this stuff for nothing but money, they're giving you a bad name in so many ways. And honestly, I'm actually, if I would, I'm not, I'm actually shocked. Now, I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty certain a great number of you are pissed off at them, because with all this craziness going on, like, whether it comes as far as the many different factors of certain corruptions and certain incidents that happen from a perpetrator. Well, it's very controversial, because, like, you got people who are telling the truth, but then you got people who will lie for the sake of money. And in doing so, they make it more difficult for people to, for the other females to bring their story for when they've actually were victimized by this, because that is a true thing. That actually does happen. But as far as just dating, right, like, now, man, I'm not, as for me myself, like, I've started to learn not to really look too far into that. Like, I started to really just enjoy my own self and my own company. I do jump into live streams from time to time to, give some great advice that I've recently found, or whatever, to do the best I can to connect, because that's the best thing we can possibly do nowadays, which they don't like, but who gives a damn what they think, of course. Um, but Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Like it's just the topic of the day is basically what the government's been doing to basically destroy the families, and it's because of that that we've become so the families have just become so dysfunctional that we don't have those inner pools that we of energy that we once had to actually give us the drive to need to kick the government's ass. And what I mean by that is that we had faction. The government has factions and people on their payroll, but the neighborhood used to always have factions too. And I don't mean gangs because the Bloods and the Crips was not always a gang. If anything, what it really was when it started was actually a community protection group. That's what it is. That's what it was. But now, man, these illiterate thugs just got in there. Half the stuff they're doing, they're not even aware of what they're representing. And the whole agenda of the people who are paying them off are basically trying to convert them while they're acting out as they are. They already are being hit by this weapon because every little thing that they do, well, they're told to do it through the phone. You don't think that these operators are not snatching their EEG data too? Because I think so. I mean, the real at first, like I would be like, okay, maybe they're not, but ever since the day I saw that one particular perp actually poison themselves, even now they see my guide channel, man. I've stated this before. They see my guide channel. When I seen this dude drink something, knowing full well what's in it, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way. If we don't stop these individuals, they're gonna run this country into the ground, into the gutter. But the biggest thing is, man, we gotta kick the government out of our families' lives, like seriously, because that's becoming a huge problem. Even if this stuff stops and the whole vaccination thing doesn't get passed, I don't believe it is gonna get passed as long as we spread out enough evidence of what's going on. Because well, they're gonna have to deal with that as well as them constantly trying to maintain the peace about what they're doing. But at the same time, like it's just that so much stuff is coming out. So many people are speaking up and exposing the corruption for what they are. Almost every freaking channel who is promoting these lies have truth speakers out in their comments just saying that they're of how much they are disgusted with the fact that they would just so flat out lie to their face. This is a definition of the characters who are basically being paid off. People who are not even target individuals understand that we have people amongst us who will lie on behalf just to get some money. Okay? That's how addicted they are. They're so addicted and so blind that they don't even know what's right for themselves and right was for the community. It's just nothing but a bitter selfishness is what it is. They have no care in the world for anybody, and trust me, these people have been known to even do these criminal acts to their own family members. So no, there's no consciousness there either. Anyway, that's the gist of what I wanted to discuss in this video. Not really too much. I'm actually starting to run out of room right now, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. But basically, yeah, man, that's the problem that we're in, is that we just allowed the government to basically just manipulate the families for too far long, and it shouldn't have happened in the first place because, well, they're supposed to be public, or should I say United States is advisors and people who manage things, but not boss people around, not boss its citizens around. But in the situation that we are in now, it seems like we're being like most of us just being bossed around, saying no, you can't go out and do this, no, you can't go out and do that. It's just a growing trend, really.